For our listeners, this is a content warning. Throughout this podcast, we touch on subjects related to trauma, misogyny, racism and medical racism, sexual misconduct, residential schools, as well as many aspects of death and dying. Should you need them, there is a list of resources in our show notes. Most importantly, as you listen, take a break when you need to, and please take care of yourselves. We'd like to acknowledge that this podcast is produced and recorded across the land known as Canada. These traditional and treaty territories are full of rich Indigenous histories, home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and MAiD peoples. We embrace the opportunity to share this story in a respectful, inclusive, and culturally appropriate way.
I have walked through dark and light. I have loved with all my might. Every scar and every mile brought me here. And when the road grows thin, and when the night rolls in, before I go,
welcome back to Before I Go. Wow, season 2. How are you, Mom?
I can echo that sentiment. Wow, season 2. It's been an incredible journey. I have to admit that it's kind of difficult to step back into this because, like we said, what we want was authenticity throughout this whole process. And it's something that I learned in counseling too, is being present in your body. And for the longest time, I was not present. I was 10 steps ahead. I was 20 steps ahead. I was making plans, about tomorrow and next week. And being present right now at this moment, it's painful. That doesn't mean it's bad. Just giving myself space to feel the pain, the sadness, the things that we covered in the first season, the things that happened to us in that whole time. Also, it's just reminding me of that pain that yesterday marked the anniversary of my sister's death. Oh, that still hurts. Oh, that still hurts. It still breaks my heart. And again, I sit in that sadness and I let the tears roll. And I think the way our brain is wired is you do the hurt, the sadness, the pain first. And once you've acknowledged all of that, and once you shed the tears, you can remember just how amazing life is again. Business is taking off. My family life is amazing. I've surrounded myself with some incredible people that I'm forever grateful for. And, a big part of my joy in life right now is my grandchildren. Baby Marion was born. Brian came into our lives when he was about 2 years old. And my Lord, he is such a beautiful little soul. And baby Marion, boy, she's She's such. She's a bit of a spitfire. But yeah, that's. I think it's just acknowledging all of that, acknowledging the tears, the pain, the sorrow, the happiness. And that actually grounds me. Like I said, being present in your body hurts. It hurts. I remember when I was going through counseling school and they asked us to be present in our bodies right now. And it's like, oh, wow, my back really hurts. Or I've got a bit of a headache. Or I didn't realize my jaw was that sore. And so being present right now, yeah, there's some pain there. But there's still a whole lot of amazing things. How are you, Danielle?
Coming into season 2, I was surprised to feel nervous. This platform has been a profound experience. And I think with it, I'm also feeling a lot of gratitude. I'm grateful for the relationship we have. Even the evolution of our relationship within the last year and a half. I'm grateful for our family. Like you said, those kids, they are amazing and fill our house with so much love. Half chaos, half love. But I'm very grateful for our family and what we've built. And I'm grateful for our listeners. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for reaching out. We love to hear comments, questions, any kind of engagement. Because the conversations, they don't stop. They don't stop when the podcasts end. We continue to have these. And I'm especially grateful for our team. Everyone you don't see or hear behind our mic and cameras. Our team has been amazing. We'll kind of get into the journey of how we got to season 2. But Kelly, Reese, Amanda, everyone at Podstarter, thank you. You've helped build this amazing platform. You helped me honor my mom's journey. So yeah, I'm nervous. I'm grateful. And I'm still dealing with a lot of grief. And we have these conversations about grief, between you and me as a family, and what that's looked like, what that's felt like.
And I think that's the big conversation, right?
Yeah.
As we start season 2, it's like with the people who have chosen to take time from their day to spend with us. It means you've chosen to sit with these stories that can't be rushed. Stories that ask us to just to slow down, to listen, to remember what really matters before we leave this world, before we leave each other, and before, these moments pass by. And when I think in terms of before we leave this world, it's like, how are we living? How are we giving purpose to our lives? The good, the bad, the sad, all of it. All of it is meant to be felt. And so season 1 was just sort of opening that door, beginning conversations many of us were taught to avoid. And there are many people who still avoid those conversations. And these are conversations about legacy, identity, grief, healing, and those truths that we quietly carry. But what we learned is that when people are given space to speak honestly, something powerful happens. We don't just hear stories, we recognize ourselves in them. So take a deep breath, Danielle. I understand being nervous about this. But what an incredible gift we were given. What an amazing platform that we have. And holding space for ourselves also in this process. I guess season 2, roll up your sleeves. I think it's going to get a little harder. Because we're going to ask harder questions. We started the whole thing, like you said, was around, my Lord, I thought I had a year to live. I thought that was it. Everything's winding down. I better start getting things in order. And so I'd planned to use MAiD. Because I saw what that end looks like. I saw it in my sister. And then we got this miracle drug. That has not just slowed the progression, but it's even reversed some of the damage. But again, when we look at season 2, now that I've been given this reprieve, I need to step back and ask myself some of the questions I asked at the beginning. Because I wanted to be very clear about my thinking. I didn't want to burden my family with any of the choices that I made about using medical assistance and dying. And so all those decisions were made about my death. And now I need to revisit what it means to live with intention. And how we carry, our responsibilities to our family, to our community, to our culture, to future generations. That's important. I wish all kids got to live with the love and the support that our babies do. What amazing little people that they are. These amazing little souls. And so when it comes to talking about my life, talking about my death, it's essentially deciding what I choose to leave behind. Not just in the end, but every day. I don't have to carry that pain, the trauma. I don't have to carry it every day. And so the choices I make about living with intention, who I'm going to show up for, what I'm going to hold on to, and what I let go. There are people, even recently, who have hurt us. I choose not to carry that. I felt the feelings around it, the hurt, the pain, the sadness, the disappointment, and I let it go. So I'm going to take a breath and be present.
Yeah. And I think let's talk about the end of season 1. We left off with mention of this miracle drug. You've been on it since last March. I still remember the call you got saying you were approved. I was a puddle on the floor. I think I can count on one hand how many times where I just instant waterworks, instant tears, where I'm just a puddle on the floor because of happiness. And that was one of the times. Because we brought in 2025, this new year, believing it was your last. You were in end-stage heart failure. And I was bracing myself that this was the last year I had with you, with my mom. So when we got the call that you were approved for this, I was a puddle on the ground, but I was a happy one. Because it just felt like this massive weight had been lifted. Because I think we've mentioned in other episodes this anticipatory grief that we go into when our loved ones are ill, when our loved ones are dying. Because our brains can go 10, 20 steps ahead, where we're thinking and living in this mindset of we live in a world without our loved ones already. And that's where I was. I was bracing myself to live in a world without my mom. But I am eternally grateful to the researchers, to the doctors, to everyone who made this miracle drug happen. Because you gave me back my mom. To see her improving, to see you breathing, to see you walking, to see you gain some agency back. I am eternally grateful for that. to see you have independence, where I'm not a hovering caregiver nurse telling you what to do, telling you what not to do. I mean, I still do that, but
Oh,
it's
you
not
do.
as
You do.
a critical care stage anymore.
Oh my God. I remember you reading over my blood work, and it was like me looking at your report card. And you're looking at me going, you could have did better there, you know.
Yeah, the disappointed sigh, the eye roll, the side glance, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, well, I felt like having salt that day. So I don't know if you know anything about pulmonary hypertension is, yeah, you got to monitor a lot of things, fluid, salt.
Mm.
And none of that has stopped. The sotatercept isn't a cure. And so what it does is that it addresses the underlying cellular causes of the disease rather than just managing the symptoms. And I think there's something about, we get that call and I was accepted into the program. And, to be accepted into the program it's a very, very, very expensive drug, like very expensive. I think I might even throw another very in there. It's very expensive. And so in the US, my understanding is that they're charging $38,000 around there per shot. And you have to take this shot every 3 weeks. And my Lord, that actually even had me, Canada isn't paying the same thing. Everybody negotiates a different cost. Each province had to negotiate sort of a ceiling. And there was actually some guilt around that. Like, oh my God, am I worth $38,000? And I know that is such a weird thought to put some price on your life. Because the things that I've gained from taking this new drug has been incredible. But I think what we didn't understand, and we only understand from lived experience, is the actual effect of the drug. So we heard about the drug. We were at a conference. They talked about this new miracle drug that's coming down the line, and they told us some of the effects of it. And so when I first got onto the program, it was like, oh my God, I get to experience that. And so I did. So very different when you're actually there. We talked about last year, or last season rather, when I walked up a flight of stairs. And I haven't walked up a flight of stairs in years. To see me walk upstairs before was take 2 steps, stop and rest. Take 2 steps, stop and rest. And that day, I don't remember, I think I was talking with Dad. And I couldn't even do that. I couldn't walk and talk at the same time. If I wanted to have a conversation with you, we'd have to stop. And so Dad and I were walking up the stairs, and I was talking to him, telling him what we wanted to do for dinner or blah, 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 something like that. And I got to the top of the stairs and was like, what did I just do? Wait, what? And when it sunk in, it was just immediate tears. And I couldn't believe I did that. And I haven't done that in a long time. And I forgot what it was like to do that. Because when you were in a body with so many constraints, a body that fails you, a body that cannot do the very basic things, and then all of a sudden you can do it again, you kind of forget what that's like. So, yeah, we didn't understand really what the drug was actually going to do. And I still live it every day. What an incredible drug this is. Giving myself the shot. Yeah, I have a little note here, which one I'm on. I have taken 21 doses. 21 doses of sotatercept. There's some side effects that I've had to learn to live with. They have to keep track of blood work, so I've got to do blood work a lot. I'm a professional pincushion. I still have a pump going into my chest with other medications, but one of the things we've had to address is sometimes I feel over-medicated. And again, it's like, wait, what? So my lungs are healing well enough that you can step back some of these medications? My heart is healing enough that I don't have to take this one as often? Wow. Like, wow. I am eternally grateful. And I'm just amazed. I'm planning my future. I'm planning, I keep saying I'm planning on doing my PhD. I really have to buckle down and get that done. I mean, I'm a bad nerd. I haven't taken a course in years. I need to go back. I need to finish off what I started. I want to do my PhD. Because when you're planning the end of your life, so many things aren't important anymore. You couldn't even pick a fight with me because I wasn't willing to fight for things that weren't important. And when I was planning the end of my life, there were so many things I had to address. So many loose ends I wanted to tie. And in the midst of all of that, my son and his wife tell us they're expecting. And at that point, I had nearly died because of this Hickman line that is a tube that goes into my chest that administers drugs 24 hours a day. I came so very close to dying. When that blood infection first hit, I first thought, no, maybe it's a cold coming on, maybe it's something. I dropped Danielle off at the airport, and I drive home. And I barely made it home, and I just sort of crawled onto the couch and fell asleep. And then I got up and crawled into bed and went to sleep. Then I got up and crawled to the couch and went to sleep. And oh, wait, 3 days later, maybe something's going on. So I called Dad at work. He calls an ambulance. They get to our house at the same time. And that night, I was given a 50-50 chance of surviving the night. And so, I didn't want to worry my family. Danielle, I was just out of town working, going FaceTime, but there's like, hey, Dan, yeah, I'm in the hospital. I'm okay. They're taking good care of me. I'm okay. But I asked everybody not to tell her. I didn't want to worry her. You know what? Nobody teaches you this about being a patient. But the guilt. the guilt of worrying people. And so, yeah, Danielle will probably tell you again that she hasn't forgiven me for lying to her, but that's okay. Feel the feelings, Danielle. Come on, bring it. I'm not afraid.
You're strong
But-
enough now, so yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. But, there were so many things that came with just winding down my life. And then my granddaughter was born. And they named her Marion. And I didn't want her to carry that name because I didn't want her to carry the grief that came with it. It's not that I wasn't honored. I am truly honored. But now that I'm feeling better and these drugs have kicked in, I am truly honored for her to carry my name. I'm truly honored for her to carry the many things that we have developed for our babies. A somewhat healed family, a family that's not afraid to face the scary stuff, a family that's not afraid to have difficult conversations.
Well, we're eternally grateful for the opportunity to continue these conversations, to continue on with this podcast. But it was also a bit of a painful reminder that while this medication has given back so much of your independence, so much of your life, it's not a cure, and even since the end of season 1, you ended up back in the hospital. While we absolutely adore the kids in our family, they are also little germ buckets. So since December, since the holiday season, we got back-to-back illnesses, back-to-back viruses. I think I had like 6 colds, a bout of pneumonia, and that was me as their aunt. But you, their grandmother, their Gigi, you still have pH. You still have your Hickman line. So pneumonia hit you hard. To the point where we ended up back up in the hospital because we couldn't get your blood oxygen up. We got it up, but it didn't stay up. So we're like, you know what? Let's just get your team involved at this point. And seeing you in the hospital bed again, seeing you struggle to breathe, that was difficult. Because it's not just seeing you in that hospital bed. It's seeing Jerry. It's seeing my godmother. Because she went on the same wing of the hospital. She had the same team. And I still remember everything, even though we lost her 14 years ago. Because that's the thing about taking care of a loved one. You have your whole lives together. You build memories, you go on adventures, you evolve your relationships. But the thing about loss and the thing about our brains is that we remember the difficult stuff first. So I recently celebrated my birthday. And this birthday was different because it felt like I was actually present. Because Jerry died shortly after my birthday. One of the last things she had was a smuggled in piece of ice cream cake. You know, when she was in the hospital then, she wasn't allowed to have a lot of stuff. But if she asked for something, we brought it. And she felt bad that she couldn't be at my birthday. So she at least wanted to participate by having some of my cake. And for every birthday after that, that's what I thought of. That's what I felt. I didn't feel, a celebration of my life. I felt the loss of hers. Because my birthday just became a reminder of who I lost, who was never going to be there again. Because we mentioned in other episodes, our family dynamic. Mom is my only mom. I have 3. And Jerry was one of them. So I've already lost a mom. And so every time you end up back in the hospital, it's not just dealing with that crisis. It's dealing with every single memory that comes with it. And I think that's what this season needs to be about. It's about being honest about this journey. Because at the end of season 1, my uncle Bill Blue was in the hospital. We talked about that. We shared about it. And then shortly after the last episode aired, he passed away. And like I said, I prepared myself at the beginning of last year to lose my mom. I was bracing for it. I was thinking about it. I was going to honor my mom's choice, my mom's legacy, to build this platform, to build this podcast. But instead, I lost 2 of my uncles last year. My uncle Bill Blue and my uncle Woody. No matter how much you prepare for death, for loss, it will still blindside you. It will still surprise you. And it will still shift the foundation of your existence. And the part about grief that I'll share was my anger. I was prepared to lose my mom. and a miracle gave her back to me. But the universe took 2 of my uncles. And there was this existential anger at the universe. There's that question that goes on in the back of my mind of, you gave me back my mom, and you took 2 people from me. Why? And you just yell to the universe. Because what do you do with that anger? What do you do with that sense of loss? Because doing this podcast, we never really shared, well, I know I didn't, the emotional cost that comes with it. To show up authentically, to make sure that we're being genuine in this journey, it means that I gave a lot of myself. And then by the end of season 1, I was pouring from an empty cup. And last year broke me. I've been a caregiver for a long time. But what a caregiver has been for me, at points felt like I was pouring my life force into somebody else. But that's not sustainable. Because we are starting to hear stories, we're starting to hear about studies done about what happens to caregivers when they've been taking care of a loved one so long that if after your loved one dies and you've been the caregiver, you've heard of people passing away shortly after. We've heard about these existential and psychological cases of, who am I now? What do I do? How do I exist in a world where my main purpose in life has been taking care of another human being? Who are you now? Well, that needs to be part of these conversations. Because the conversations Mom and I have had since the end of season 1 have been, how do we take care of ourselves now? In season 1, we talked about self-care. Well, that's a pretty broad term. And so what does that actually look like? What does that actually feel like? Mom, what is self-care to you?
I think for me, I have to think of different levels of self care. And, thinking about you, talking about that existential crisis you have at the end, when you've lost the person you've poured yourself into. I did that with my mom. My mother had stage 4 ovarian cancer, and I I just put everything down to look after her. And they gave her 3 months to live. And she lived almost 3 years. The part about that was, my brain knew she wasn't going to survive. It forgot to tell my heart. Because when she died, it still came as a complete surprise. And so when I think in terms of self-care, there's a survival mode where you do the minimum. You just make sure you're fed and watered, and maybe you get a little bit of sleep. But, when you're past the crisis, you step into a managing role, a managing self-care, where you set boundaries, where there's no extra demands on you. Because, when you're a caregiver, your needs are behind the person you're caring for. I'm hungry. No, I'm going to make sure they eat. I'm tired. Nope, I'm going to sit there and make sure they breathe because they were having problems. So once you get into management, you set up a few boundaries. I'm going to sleep for 8 hours. You practice just learning how to relax again. Going for a walk, taking a deep breath. You start reconnecting with people. You start looking for your own emotional support. You start processing the feelings that came with that. And maybe you even reach out to a counselor. I did with my mom and my sister. I came from such a large family that within 2 years, we lost 17 members of our family. And it just felt like it was just one after another after another. And the thing with grief is that everything piggybacks on it. Everything. So when you lose somebody, you didn't just lose that person, you also lost all of those other people you lost prior to that. And you were talking about your anger. As counselors, we know anger is a secondary emotion to sadness. And sometimes, it's easier to be angry. It's that physiological response of just going and breaking something or yelling into the void. Being able to do that as an outlet allows the sadness to come. I remember our counselor many, many years ago, where somebody comes in and they're just like angry and stuff. And it's like you give it a little head tilt and like, oh, looks like you're having a really hard day. All of a sudden the anger is gone, like, oh yeah, it was awful. And then the next step, of self-care is wellness. How do you thrive again? So, there may be some judgment that you have on yourself, thinking, well, I talked the talk, I didn't walk the walk. I kept preaching about self-care and then I fell apart after the season was over. Well, you were looking after yourself, but you look at those different levels of self-care. You then had to go into the next stage. And so we get to this next stage now where you're thriving, you're doing well, you've addressed all of the issues, you said, I'm not going to do it again. and we held space for you to quit. And it's like, okay, Danielle, you don't have to do this next season because everything you do is a choice. And if you remind yourself that everything that you do is your choice to do it, whether or not you're going to participate is your choice. You don't have to do anything. If you chose to walk away, you would have had my full support. If you didn't ever want to do this again, then great. I even remember in that conversation became quite heated, actually. In that conversation yeah, we got sponsorship from the Indigenous Green Office. And it's like, all right, fine, let's just send the money back. Let's not do it. Because this is not worth hurting yourself for. Okay, I didn't really mean it. We weren't going to send it back. But I had to tell you that we had that choice.
Yeah.
And we even got to that point. Remember when we were sitting at the kitchen table and you were venting and venting and venting because all of this had built up. Losing your uncles, the shifts in my health, processing everything that we covered in season 1 and continuing to live our life and trying to build up the business because the business was winding down as I was winding down. So I was like, oh crap, now we have to find more clients. We need to find more work. Oh, wait, we have bills to pay. And so there was all of that. And sitting at that table, and yeah, one of the things I learned as a young mother was just to let you vent. And I remember a long time ago, it was like, do you need me to fix something or you just want to vent? You just kept getting angry and you were looking at me. And when you were done, I said, it kind of feels like you're getting mad at me for almost dying. It feels like you're getting mad at me for being sick. And your face went, what? And I think that was just a bit of a turning point. That you're allowed to be angry at the disease. You're allowed to be angry at the universe. We don't skip over steps to be okay. You have to feel them all. So you don't want to do it? Quit. And even if you don't quit, then you know what? At least you know there's still that choice there. But those levels of wellness, don't judge yourself. You were doing self-care. You're always doing self-care. And the fact of the matter is, for many people, if you're just new to self-care, it feels like selfishness. And if you feel selfish, you're doing it right. If you're feeling like I'm going to close that bedroom door and take a nap, and it doesn't matter if things are just falling apart and you feel like you're the only one who can put it back together, go and take that fluffing nap. Go and lay down, go and rest. Because those are some of the things we're changing in our family. And you still remind me of that. Because in those previous generations, God, if I slept in too late, it was deemed lazy. You're being lazy. Meanwhile, now if somebody in our family sleeps in, it's like, oh, good for you. You're resting. We have to reframe all of these things in our head. And that doesn't mean that it's wrong. Those previous generations didn't get it wrong. Because those generations, if you didn't work, you didn't eat. So that doesn't make it wrong. It's just not who we are and where we are today. If you're tired, rest. If you don't want to do it, don't. Everything is your choice. And I think it's important that as you move between these levels of self-care, we deal with so many different things. Survivor's guilt, I'm dealing with that. Chronic illness, grief, all of that is normal. And then the thing you have to do is you can't skip any of the levels. You have to go through it all.
Yeah.
And you have to establish like routines. Get up every day and, like you said, for 15 minutes, do something just for you. Do that. That's self care.
Yeah, self-care is uncomfortable. When you are first making it a habit, when you're making it part of your daily life, it is going to feel uncomfortable. And it doesn't include, you know, just the happy, good parts. It's going to be the guilty, angry parts too, because self care, yeah, it's a broad, overarching term. But as a practice, I found it really difficult because I'm an empath. I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. I'm an aunt now. And for most of my life, those relationships with my family, with my loved ones, I put those as priority before me. And that contributes to burnout. That contributes to feeling like you're pouring from an empty cup. So when you started, you know, your symptoms were manageable, you were gaining a sense of independence, you know, we you're on this miracle drug. Well, now I don't need to hover anymore. Now I don't need to think daily about your blood oxygen, how to take your stats. When's your next doctor's appointment? When should you go get blood work? Now it's you can do that. You can do that without me. But me taking a step back, that was painful. That felt like I was abandoning you. That felt like I was failing. Because when you're so immersed in the well being of another person, stepping back and taking care of yourself, I felt awful, but we were able to have those conversations. It's like, take care of yourself, take time for yourself. It's like, I got this and I trust you. To go back to when you got that blood infection, there was broken trust. It wasn't just me being angry at you, but you broke my trust when you lied to me. But we've had many conversations since then. You can't protect me from those experiences. So the next times, the next few times that you've been in the hospital since then, you've called me, you've messaged me. You said, I'm dealing with this, so I'm going to go to the hospital. So since then, I trust you. I trust you to be honest with me. And that's what it allowed me to step back, make time for myself, and start developing these self-care habits. And it starts small. Every day, I ask myself a question. How are you showing up for yourself today? And that creates a sense of accountability to myself. Because you know what? There are some days where, you know what, getting out of bed, putting on pants, that just seems like an Olympic feat. That's a no-go. And so even if I have a to-do list a mile long for that day, it's going to be, what can I do? What can I do that's going to take care of me, in one category, whether it's physical, whether it's mental, whether it's spiritual. And sometimes that means cooking at least one good meal. It means having enough water. It means going to bed at a decent time. It means my workday ends at 10 o'clock. Like, my phone is on do not disturb. I'm not answering emails or calls. It means maintaining boundaries, even when it's uncomfortable. It's learning to say no without adding justification. But to be honest, it's hard because it is a daily practice and it's an accountability to yourself that is freaking painful at the beginning. But like we said throughout season 1, it is mandatory. Figure out how to make it mandatory. Sometimes it's not sometimes it's not big. They're not big actions. Sometimes it's carving out time in a day to call your friend. Sometimes it's saying no to an ask to go for a walk. But learning how to show up for yourself, it makes a profound difference. So yeah, showing up for myself this season was kind of painful. And not just for me, but for my entire team. And I gotta say, I'm very grateful to you, to Amanda, because it was that conversation between the three of us that started that whole series of events where it's just like, you know what? Season 1 broke me. I offered so much of myself, my experience, and I just needed to be done. Because when we applied for funding, we submitted the application 3 days before Bill Blue died. So when we submitted the application for more funding to keep doing this, it's like, yep, this is a profound experience. This is making a difference. Let's keep going. But then we lost Bill Blue. And then we lost Uncle Woody. And then I realized just how much last year took from me. Because grief, it never goes away. As you keep going, as you keep living, that sense of loss doesn't go anywhere. You just learn to build around it. So when we started pre-production, it was like, you know what? The emotional cost of doing this was too steep. I can't do it. And then we went on to have a lot of difficult conversations just internally. But I am very grateful to have such an amazing team that gave me space to have those conversations. And that's what we're going to emphasize for this season is the sense of emotional safety is going to be paramount to this experience. We're going to keep checking in with each other. We're going to keep making sure that we're accountable to ourselves and us as a team, that we're taking care of each other, taking care of ourselves. And if that's just a reminder saying, hey, I'm here to talk, I'm here to listen, because we're asking a lot for people to be in this space and offer so much of themselves. And to all of our guests that have been on, the ones who are interested in coming on, thank you. Thank you. So because of our team, because of our guests, because of this amazing platform that we've built, I'm going to keep going. But might just be a little more tears. But that's part of it. That's part of this journey. That's part of these kind of conversations. We're going to normalize it. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to not be okay. Because that's not what self-care is about. That's not what this platform is about. We're not here to be okay. We're here to learn. We're here to share. We're here to experience everything. We're going to experience everything together.
We
So
are
that's
people of we
the
are
good, the
people of,
bad, the ugly.
yeah. Well, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. We are people of the buffalo.
Yeah.
We stand and we face the storm. But I think part of what we're also doing is that we're still learning in the process. Yeah. People of the buffalo, you stand, you face the storm. Sometimes you run into it and the storm is over faster. But in that process, I think the learning about self-care is going to be part of the journey. And it already has been part of the journey. And I think self-care isn't about doing more. It's about matching where you actually are and being honest about that. So I'm glad you came back, Danielle. And I'm glad you're aware of your needs through this process. That this work, this is sacred work. And, like I told you before, I'm a bad podcaster. I'm not looking at a whole audience. I'm looking at one person. If this resonates with that one person, then this is very meaningful work that has served its purpose. Because somebody out there is struggling as a caregiver. Somebody out there is struggling as a patient. People in the medical community are struggling. But what we do have to say is that, we lost Bill Blue. We lost Woody. We've lost so many. But what I've seen with losing my brother, they took such amazing care of him. Part of our belief is when somebody is about to pass, you open a window and you open the door, and you have to put them in a certain position, and it allows the spirit to travel. And in the ICU, the nurse came and asked if there's any cultural things that we wanted to follow. And they brought the seer and they brought an elder in to pray for my brother. And I told her we need the window and the door open. And she said, well, I'm sorry, it's the ICU. We can't do that. Doors and windows don't open. And so they, I don't know if you've seen a hospital hallway where it's always cluttered with nurses and their computer stations. And, it's just always full. They had cleared out that full hallway and taken my brother's hospital bed down to a family room where there was a patio. And they opened a door and put his bed right up towards the door. And we sat with him until he passed away. He got to breathe fresh air. His spirit got to fly. So how are you doing, Danielle?
I'm good. I'm excited. I'm glad that we can have these conversations of grief, loss, how we deal with it individually and as a family. I'm glad that we can continue this platform. Yeah, for that one person who needs to have these conversations that can normalize the difficult experiences of life, death, and loss. Your sense of agency matters. We see you. We hear you. And we're so grateful you can be here with us. So thank you. Thank you, Mom. I am always amazed by your strength, the lessons you've taught me, our family, and now that we can share it with the world. Gigi, Jerry, Belle Blue, they would be so proud of you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I think we share the grief, the loss, but we also share the hope. And there's always hope. The contrast between that, the hope of the new drugs, and that I have another grandbaby on the way, that we await the birth of my grandson.
Who will be named after me.
Yeah.
I'm so honored.
Nathan Daniel Jacoby. An amazing. And we build on everything that we've done, the generational healing, the ability to hold space for one another, to invite the people who listen to this podcast along with this journey. And just trust that we'll meet this next chapter with honesty and presence. I am good. I am at peace. I am grateful.
Thank you so much for listening. Welcome to episode 1 of season 2.
I have walked through dark and light. I have loved with all my might. Every scar and every mile brought me here. And when the road grows thin, and when the night rolls in, before I go,
Thank you so much for joining us, and take care of yourselves. Self-care is not a choice, it's mandatory. Figure out how to take care of yourself.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope our conversations provided a unique perspective, opened the door to your own discussions, and offer some comfort. If you have any questions or would like to learn more about anything we've discussed or haven't discussed, let us know in the comments. Until next time, at Lugo Doexip Noon. Before I go, gratefully acknowledges the financial support of the Indigenous Screen Office.